Before I introduce our esteemed speaker, who we're so honored to have today, I'm just going to make a couple of announcements and remarks. First off, I would like to thank all our sponsors of this event. And while this is a regularly scheduled NREM seminar, we've been supported by many groups to make today possible. So our collaborators include the Asian American and Pacific Islander Environmental Humanities and Environmental Justice Initiative, which is an initiative of the Department of Asian Studies and the Center for Pacific Island Studies. And special thanks to Michelle Herangodi for her assistance in planning today. Wherever she is, she can give a wave. And I'd also like to thank the Institute for Sustainability and Resilience, which is the new home of the Biocultural Initiative of the Pacific. And just a show of hands, who's heard of the Biocultural Initiative? Anyone? Okay, several hands, awesome. And so the Biocultural Initiative of the Pacific has been an active part of Manoa for over a decade now. We teach classes, we hold events, we support biocultural research and more things. Our efforts quieted down a bit during COVID, but we are currently in a moment of growth and revitalization. And you may have noticed that several of our speakers in the NREM seminar, this series this semester, had a biocultural focus. And that was very intentional because those speakers were co-hosted by the Biocultural Initiative of the Pacific. This semester, the Biocultural Hui has also taught IS 750 Biocultural Diversity and Conservation. So a couple of students I see in the audience from that class. And we've had such an amazing response and desire to take that course that we hope to make it an annual offering going forward. So if that's something of interest, look for it maybe next fall or maybe next spring, not sure. And we will have another biocultural seminar series next semester. So Leah Bremer in the back with sustainability will be helping to organize those. We also will have an upcoming student club focused on biocultural gatherings, work days, perhaps film screenings, and so forth. So if you're interested in making sure you're on that sign-up list, we will actually be having a little bit of a pauhana after this seminar today over in the sustainability courtyard just across the street. So that's please join us for some refreshments and let us know that you'd like to be on that list. With that, I'd love to now introduce our speaker for today, who we're so grateful and honored to have join us. So Moana Ulu Ching was raised in Keoho and Kahaluu Kona. Ulu holds a bachelor's degree in geography and environmental studies from Hilo and completed her graduate work in ecological education at Lesley University. Ulu co-led the Pacific Internship Programs for Exploring Science, or PIPES, which many of you may be familiar with, before working for Conservation International Hawaiʻi, where she managed community-based conservation projects across the islands. And in July 2025, so just this past summer, right before the Hawaii Conservation Conference, Ulu became the executive director of the Hawaii Conservation Alliance Foundation. So please join me in welcoming Ulu.
Oh, aloha, aloha pumehana yaka ko pakahi a pau, aloha. Aloha. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. O wau o Moana po mai kai ka uluwehi o ka Ulu Ching no Keoho me kahalu kona mai au. Noho au I pona Hawaii hilo keia manawa me ku'u ohana, elua kau keiki o Kilolani po wehiwehi a Moana me ku'ui po Tahiti'a. Yeah, I really am so honored to be here and be invited to join what I've been told is a very esteemed list of NREM seminar speakers. So I'm very humbled to be with you all today here, alohe alo, as well as online in the Zoomiverse. I was laughing earlier. I said, this will either be the shortest seminar talk of the series, or we'll all be here till midnight. So that's kind of intentional on my part. I love to kind of keep things flowy and informal, but semi-structured, but also allow for space to kuka, yeah, for us to kind of just talk story and learn about each other and spend the next hour or so doing just that. So mahalo again for the opportunity to come and share some space with you folks. And we'll just dive right in. So I'm here representing the Hawaiʻi Conservation Alliance and the Hawaiʻi Conservation Alliance Foundation. We'll dig in a little bit more into both of those entities in a bit here. But I was sharing with Amy earlier that anytime we get together in these spaces, part of our ho'olauna process is to really, for myself, to really ground, how I am arriving by sharing a little bit about who and where I am of. And so the places, the spaces, and the people who are my piko, and the elements and the humans and non-human beings that nourish me. So this is where it could get a little long, or this could be the shortest ho'olauna we've ever experienced. We'll see when we get started. So I'm really thankful, and I'm going to call this person out and make him super embarrassed, but I'm so glad to have my nephew, David Kahele Mauna Franco, here with me to just be ohana that's in the flesh here with me. Smile, nephew. Yep, thank you. And it helps because the images on the screen, again, are very much those people and places that I am of. And he, like the folks on the bottom of the screen, represent our tomorrow, the legacy. So these images capture, again, some of the places. We have Ka'ala up in the top left. I was born here on Oahu and named for the verdant landscape of Ka'ala. And so I hold that place very dear in my heart. It's also in my inoa piha and those kaiaulu winds of Ka'ala. Very much so keep me in the levelanese and soaring from place to place. There's some other images in here just below Ka'ala. Kind of one more down with the Hai Hawaiʻi is Kahalu'u Mauka or Keoho Mauka. That's my grandfather and grandmother's hale. That's where I was raised, and where the sweet smell of pakalana from my grandmother's gardens still stay with me. I can smell it now, even as I see the picture and think of her and my grandfather. Ahu'ena heau, there in the kind of sort of center is kind of I would say the spiritual piko, the center. That is where my grandfather, David Kahele Mauna Roy, whom my nephew is named for, was the kahu of Ahu'ena and oversaw the reconstruction and the restoration of the heiau in the 70s, which was the first to ever be done, and oversaw ceremonies that took place there until his passing in 2006. Some of the other places, again, Hilo, we have a beautiful picture of Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa looking across to Hilo One, across the bay of Kuhio. That is where I currently live. So I currently live in the Ahupua of Pona, Hawaii, in Hilo, and I've spent many, many years there. I am a tried and true, born and raised, well, I can't say born because I was born here in Moana, but raised in Keoho and Kahalu. So I'm a Kona girl through and through, but Hilo has been the best home for the last almost 3 decades. And it's been a wonderful place to raise my family as well. So there's Hilo. Of course, we have all the elements, the pele, all of the plant peeps, again, all those things that nourish us. And of course, my legacy there at the bottom, Kilolani and Ku'uipo. Not quite represented. There's no official seal or campus picture, but Hilo is also where I did my undergraduate. As Rachel mentioned, the University of Hawaii at Hilo, mentored and studied under some wonderful folks, and then journeyed over to Lesley University in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where I decided to kind of deepen my love or my learning that really was the result of my love for the people and places of Hawaii, and really being intentional about how we bring up the next generation of leaders. And so learning a little bit more about what that could look like. And so that's the kind of weird brown, that's my feet. I know if that's weird, like I have weird shaped feet, but even weirder shaped feet in those shoes. That's why I wear slippers. But those are the icy ponds of Massachusetts, where, you know, I'm thankful to have been able to grow and spend time with a lot of the indigenous peoples of that area, specifically the Passamaquoddy and the Wampanoag folks of tribes there, the Paskamadokkada. So this is a little bit about me. As was mentioned, I had the wonderful opportunity to co-lead the PIPES program. And so I have a funny, you know, anytime my kids are with me and we see somebody at the beach or at the store or wherever, and I start talking, of course, that irritates my you know, almost 15-year-old. Let's go, Mom, let's go. She's like, oh, let's go. You talk forever. And I'm like, well, ask me how I know them. Ask me how I know them. And it's always PIPES. So the 10 beautiful years that I've spent being a part of that program and that ohana and that legacy of now mentoring over 400, nearly 500 undergraduate students is very much a part of me and something that I hold very, very deeply. So I'm very honored to have that as part of my mo'oku'auhau. As Rachel mentioned, I also spent the last 10 years with Conservation International Hawaii. And so that's an international environmental NGO that has a base here in Hawaii, where I was really honored and privileged to work with the communities of place and practice. So really, really working with folks who are on the front line and have been on the front line for generations as they steward their marine and nearshore resources. So some of those communities include the ohana of Miloli'i, of Napopo, Kealakekua, just to name a few, as they really move the needle on ocean conservation action. And it, again, was an honor and a privilege to do that. And then that brought me to July of this year and moving into the Hawaii Conservation Alliance space, which I had been familiar with since the mid-2000s as a steering committee member, a subcommittee member, and of course, as a Hawaii Conservation Conference participant and attendee, as many of you likely are. And that was a great opportunity to continue on with this sacred work of aloha ʻāina, of mālama ʻāina, and kind of level up. And so I'm really excited to share a little bit more about the Alliance and the work that we do and bring you all along for the ride. So by the end of this, I hope you say, wow, I really want to learn more, do more, go to every future HCC, and participate in every abstract review committee for the rest of your life. So segue, oops, I have to talk into the mic. What is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear Hawaii Conservation Alliance? Like popcorn, like what do you think? HCC. That's a really, really good thing. HCC, the Hawaii Conservation Conference, is our annual gathering of conservation leaders, researchers, educators, practitioners, community members, where we get to come together and celebrate our work, celebrate each other, and keep pushing forward. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing that we're known for our conference work. It's been happening for 32 years. So we've been doing a good thing for a pretty long time. It has its humble beginnings in the forests of Puna, and we have been gathering ever since. But HCA is actually a whole lot more. And I'm really excited to share. I fit a lot onto this page, but bear with me. There's a big story to tell here. So the Alliance is actually made up, well, I would say it started in 1988. So no show of hands to see who was born or not born during that time period. But the Alliance started in 1988, and it was a group of conservation practitioners, mainly agency-based, so government conservation agencies who came together and said, hey, we can do even more when we come together and learn from each other, co-design research agendas, support research and resource management that's happening in our forests. At that time, it was very terrestrial based, which is my kai, but we're evolving in that way too. And they said, hey, yeah, let's come together. It's better. We can do great things by ourselves, but we can do even better things when we're convening ourselves and digging into the work together. And so that idea of collaboration and collective action was born, and the HCA or Alliance was born. And since then, we've grown to a member organization of 28 organizations. So that makes up a government, so everything from federal, state to county. We have our local NGOs, so our nature conservancies, our CI Hawaiʻis. We have our private partners and private government partners, OHA, Kamehameha Schools, the Hawaii Invasive Species Committees, all of those just to name a few, as well as Kua ʻāina Ulu Awamo, who kind of beautifully represents our communities of place and practice, bringing them into the HCA space as well. Collectively, all of us together are committed to the protection and the restoration of our native ecosystems here in Hawaii. And again, that unified leadership and collective action is in our DNA as an organization. So not just the conference anymore, like lots of other things. Some examples, and I realize as I'm looking at this, they're all hyperlinked, which you can't really do anything about because you can't click that, but I'll make sure to send this out. These are some examples of some of our position papers. So collectively, the Alliance comes together to author and co-author papers that let us take a stance on important conservation issues. And you'll see that, some of these are, and I should have put the year that they were published, but the first one is our latest one, Growth and Retention of Hawaii's Local Workforce in Conservation. That was our most recent one published last year. But there's really groundbreaking things in here that are kind of, in some cases, before their time in terms of how they were being discussed and acted upon in conservation in Hawaii. So the Alliance is really trying to move the needle early and be a part of seeding conversations and actions. Community-based adaptive management, that paper came out in 2018. Again, reinforcing things that were happening within the conservation community and saying, as an alliance, as a collective, we believe in these conservation actions as they're represented in community-based conservation. Culture and conservation, ungulate population, those position papers all came out in the early to mid 2000s. So the Alliance was really doing a lot of work early on to position itself as leaders and promoting discussion and action in these areas where there just wasn't a unified voice. Individual organizations were doing the important work and publishing data from their research, which was really important. There wasn't a unified voice and stance on things, quite like what happened when HCA started, to really grow in earnest and publish some of these papers. The Hawaii Plant Conservation, or the Laukahi Network, is a partner of the HCA, and I'll get a little bit more into that in a second. But that's a very important part of the Alliance's work on rare native plants. So everything from restoration to seed banking. That's a really, really big part of our work as well. We have the Ahupua'a Accelerator Initiative, which is our premier community-based conservation effort. We're working, again, so really deeply in communities of place to advance conservation actions across the ʻāina. We also have we have our Conservation Career Compass, which is a component of our Next Generation program. So we have an arm of our work that's really focused on the next 100 years and beyond, 500 years, 1,000 years. So our organization is really focused on the here, the before, the now, and the tomorrow. And that's really represented strongly across all of our different efforts within the program or organization. The status of conservation report, that one I know you can take picture of, but I needed help with that because I'm not technologically savvy. That is a work that the Alliance did to bring together numerous data sets to help us understand what's the status of conservation. How are native ecosystems doing? How are the people that care for those systems doing, i.e. the communities in place? What are the things that we need to do more of to accelerate restoration and protective actions in the field? So it's a really good report that, again, the Alliance has put out. And that's meant, all these products are meant to inform decision makers, policymakers, educators, everyone in our lahui. I had to put the 50-50 so that I made sure to talk about HCA in this way. HCA is kind of 50-50 convener. So that's represented in our, certainly in our conference, again, the most visible kind of product of our organization and the biggest way that we serve our conservation community. That's very important to me, is to really be always in service to you all and to ʻāina. So we're convening, and we also have other spaces where we convene in our different programming. So whether that's the Ahupua'a Accelerator, our next gen work, where we spend a lot of our time bringing people together, setting a table, inviting folks to come and bring a dish and leave full and ready to go out and do the work and know that they're well supported to do that work. So we're 50% conveners. And then 50% is our direct kind of project delivery or program delivery. So again, that's represented in our Ahupua'a Accelerator work, our next gen work, where our team is delivering services directly through our programming to our conservation community and to the broader public. So not just HCC, so much more. It's really important when I talk about HCC it's going to bug me. I didn't change the font on this. This is kind of how the HCA is structured. In addition to a 50-50 kind of the work that we do, kind of describing the work that we do, HCA is actually kind of two things, if that's not weird. We'll get to this is the first, the Hawaii Conservation Alliance, or kind of known HCA or the Alliance. That is led by our HCA Steering Committee. That's the body made up of representatives from all 28 of those organizations. They set the pace for us. They help us to identify priorities. They tell us, what things we want to focus on, where we want to go. HCA staff help to implement what the committee wants to achieve or do. The HCA space is then further broken down by what we call subcommittees. And some of you have maybe already participated in some of these groups. We have Nahululehiva Kui Papa, which is our Next Gen subcommittee. We have our Effective Conservation Program subcommittee. That's the subcommittee responsible for authoring and publishing the Status of Conservation report. We have our community subcommittee, so really focusing on, again, bringing in community perspectives into HCA's work and into conservation in general and championing those items, those pathways. We have our cultural subcommittee, which helps us to just, always be grounded in place and the mo'omeheu of Hawaiʻi. And then we have a climate crisis, and there's a little asterisk on that one because all of our subcommittees are active with the exception of our climate crisis. We're kind of reorging. We've got a lot of things happening in the federal government, and a lot of our federal work happens in that climate crisis space. So this is kind of how the alliance is kind of organized in terms of a body. Then we also have the Hawaii Conservation Alliance Foundation. So two different color schemes here, if that helps to kind of organize. And you might get like color whiplash as we go back and forth between the two. But it's really important to understand these kind of two bodies that exist within this organization. So we have the Hawaii Conservation Alliance Foundation, which was formed or incorporated in 2006. And that is the backbone organization. That's the legal entity that helps to stand up all of the HCA's work, the Alliance's work. It is the entity that has the fiduciary responsibility to make sure the lights stay on and that work continues. That's where all of our staff live. That's where I live. So we have our Next Gen, these are our Next Gen and Ahupua'a Accelerator. These are programs. So HCAF, the foundation, has two programs that are within it. The foundation also serves as a fiscal sponsor for our conservation partners. So for those who are looking for support and are not incorporated, we partner with them. And these are two examples, that Laukahi Network and then CGAPS, the coordinating, CGAPS, I'll look it up. Oh, wait, I wrote it down. Coordinating Group on Alien Pest Species, CGAPS, and that's lovingly run by Christy Martin. So this is just our staff, it's just kind of, we're a small but mighty team. If you think about conference and we have, 1,400 plus people coming to that event, plus all of the different programming, you'd think we have an army of people that kind of do that. Well, it's 7 folks who bring the conference to life. And actually let me back up. That's not true. 7 staff, but hundreds of people behind the scenes that actually help us to bring all of that to fruition. But this is kind of how we're organized. Most of the team is based here on Oahu, with 2 of us on Hawaii. So again, HCA as the Alliance is the entity through its strategic plan and setting of conservation priorities as a collective, pushes those things through to the foundation. The foundation has the responsibility to maintain capacity so that those priorities and those conservation actions can be undertaken. So it's a very nice cycle, as is most things, all things in nature. So as Rachel said, I joined HCA really like 2 weeks, 2 weeks before HCC. Extra points for anybody that can find Amy Sato in this picture. And, the theme of this year's 2025 conference was, as it says, ea ea ulu, and that was taken from a hi'iaka chant, o hi'iaka ke kaula, nana I hele, ea ea ulu. And I loved Auntie Kekuhi's keynote, where she talked about the imagery there was as hi'iaka moves through the forest, its growth, she seeds and growth occurs afterwards. And then she encouraged us, right, to kind of change it from nana I hele. So as hi'iaka goes to na'u I hele. So how do we all move through these conservation spaces in whatever capacity, in whatever way that we do? We're moving through. And as we do that, what are we leaving behind? What are we seeding for growth? What can and should be taking place after we move through that space? So I used that to kind of help me think about my own process for now being in a position to lead this organization. How I'm moving through and what am I doing to seed so that there's life and growth after me in this organization and then in all of our member and partner organizations' work. So the first step, of course, is to really do that deep empathetic work. So really listen to our staff, to our partners, to anyone who really had any questions or thoughts on HCA and what we should be focusing on. Really listening and learning with the intention to really hear what the needs are, what we should be doing as an organization that serves our lahui and our home, and think about and hold that and honor that sharing. Then moving into that really deep research of understanding what are the tools and the resources, both in terms of individuals or peer organizations, that we can kind of model some aspects of our work after. Where can we learn? Where can we take those lessons learned in other areas and apply it to the HCA space so that we can best serve our people and our members and all of you. And in doing that, we can make mindful movements. We can change with intention. And another part of that, hi'iaka, not that particular mele, but the entire mo'olelo, talks about how hi'iaka encourages us or tells us to move with care. So really being mindful in how we evolve as an organization so that we can best serve. Radical change is good, but it doesn't need to be fast, and it shouldn't be fast. It should be very thought out, and not being fast doesn't mean being slow. It just means moving at the right pace. And then we go, yeah. And then it just continues. So it's not that this is kind of my onboarding process, which we'll get into why this is important because it talks about my vision for HCA. But it's not a one-time thing. Yeah, we're always going through this process because we remember what Auntie Kekuhi shared with us, right? Like na'ui hele, as we move, what is it that we're leaving behind that is flourishing. So I'm a person of times of transition. Who here loves waking up super early to see stars set and the sunrise? Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. Nephew, raise your hand. But I love those periods of transition. For some, they can be, very energizing, very invigorating. And other folks, they can be kind of like times of like, oh, what's next? And that can be very like, But for me, it's all about the potentiality and the possibilities that exist in those transition spaces. So I'm very energized by that. So the next two slides, or these last two slides, are of those times in the rise and the set of the sun in this case. So HCA previously and maybe still thought of as kind of like an exclusive space. Like how many folks that kind of knew of HCA previously kind of thought like, hey, yeah, I can go and join that hui anytime and I can contribute, learn, hui pu, and have a good time. Well, maybe we weren't too known for that. But in the last few years, we've definitely been making an intentional shift to move towards that very inclusive space where we are acknowledging. And I think we weren't trying to be exclusive on purpose. It just kind of happened that way. And so we had to kind of think like, wait a minute, who's not here at our convenings and why not? And how do we create a space that's more representative? So really, again, using the hi'iaka or the hi'i element of, is our organization representative of our larger society and our conservation sector? And are we representing those places and spaces and people adequately? So that hi'i and that hi'iaka moments were very important and intentional for us. So we're evolving. I think we know now more than ever, right, that we should all be, or we all want to be at the tables for discussion and action when it comes to caring for our native ecosystems. And that's easy to do in some spaces, not so much in others. We're really trying our best to make it as easy as possible at HCA. That might be a sign of like, okay, wrap it up. And this actually is the last slide. So people have been asking me, and I think that was part of the invitation today, was to kind of think through, like, what's your vision for HCA? What is your like next island that we should be trying to get to as an organization? I think for me, in addition to being known for the conference, which again, totally unapologetically, lovingly known for our conference because it's a big deal, I also want HCA to be known as the place, or at least your top 3 places where you go to, where someone says, I have a conservation question, a need, or a something. I don't know what happened there. A something happened. We want HCA to be that place that people go to, both our partners in the conservation community, as well as decision makers and policy makers, because they're leading. Getting them on board is kind of critical for implementing all of our conservation work, as well as other specific important partners in that space. So really wanting to make sure that we're known for that we're visible, and that our work, our research, our programming is sound, solid, and is having deep impact and broad reach. So we're going to do a lot more of that. So be on the lookout for us on social media. I also really want to grow our partnership in adjacent sectors. So right now, conservation, we're evolving out of the space, but HCA is still kind of stuck in our traditional kind of conservation, partner space. So I really want us to push the limits on who we bring into these conservation HCA spaces. And so our adjacent sector partners are really important in that. So agriculture, private industry and commerce, right? Technology. Those are just some of the areas that we're really mindfully moving into, knowing that there's tension in some of those spaces. We've recently begun a partnership with a major developer. I mean, land developer conservation organization, not exactly, the two organizations that you would think would come together, but we have to work in some of the spaces that are a little bit tense. We are in some pretty radical times, so we need to make radical moves, and we need to get in the canoe with some of those partners who haven't been a part of our partnerships before. Advocacy. The foundation was also formed so that we could formally play a role in advocacy here in Hawaii. So whether that's lobbying, there's kind of two ways that I think about it: passive and active. So passive being, educating, publishing papers, making those kind of public stances as an organization, as an alliance on conservation topics and issues and challenges. And then active ones. So going out and lobbying, working directly with our policy and legislative leaders or our municipal leaders, whoever that looks like, but being active in those spaces. So we're going to see a lot more of HCA being kind of visible in those spaces too. Finally, it's a dream of mine to really have HCA be a piko where everyone can kind of see themselves in our work in one way, shape, or form. And that's why I believe in the diversity of programming that we offer, as well as the types of partnerships, because everybody has a stake in how ʻāina is doing and how we're doing as a result of the status of and the health of ʻāina. So I really want everyone to see themselves in our work. And that goes back again to that hi'iaka. How are we being the hi'iaka and representing each other in our spaces? Oh, so I think that's it. These are some ways to stay connected in with us. I am, really excited to continue on this journey with our partners, UH, and many of our other members and non-members to address the challenges of today so that we have the best future to look forward to and pass on to our mo'o. And I want you all to see yourselves in that work. So please join us. Let us know how we can serve you, what your needs are, and how we can work together to serve each other and serve Hawaii. So, mahalo piha.